Let's settle for the details and more now. The grand controversial military deal that's causing a huge stir in Ghana today is Ghana's grant of wide-ranging tax exemptions to the United States military, deployment of U.S. forces from Ghana, and the U.S. Marines can do as they please without being tried in Ghana. Ghanaian security cannot even check to see what the Americans are bringing into the country, and some say it's colonization of sort. In the last few minutes, Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwo has laid the agreement before Parliament for ratification. We have an interview with him coming up shortly. But there's been some reactions following that revelation. This afternoon, we're scrutinizing the agreement, and we bring you all the reactions. First, here are the details.
The documents cited by JoyNews show that negotiations with the U.S. has been ongoing at least for the past 8 months. Cabinet approved the deal on Thursday, 8th March 2018. According to the agreement, Ghana will provide unimpeded access to and use of agreed facilities and areas to the U.S. forces and contractors. It also allows U.S. forces and their contractors to undertake construction activities on and make alterations and improvements to agreed facilities and areas. The U.S. forces are also authorized to control entry to the facilities meant for the exclusive use of their forces. Ghana has also agreed to, quote, furnish without rental or similar cost to the United States all agreed facilities and areas, including those jointly used by the United States forces and Ghana. According to the agreement seen by JoyNews, the United States forces shall not be liable to pay any tax or similar charge assessed within Ghana. It also states that, quote, United States contractors shall not be liable to pay tax or similar charges assessed within Ghana in connection with this agreement, end of quote. The U.S. forces may also import into and export out of and use in Ghana any personal property, equipment, supplies, materials, technology, training, or services in connection with the agreement. But most importantly, such importation, exportation, and use shall be exempt from any inspection, license, or other restrictions, customs duties, taxes, or any other charges assessed within Ghana. The agreement also states that, quote, aircraft, vehicles, and vessels operated by or at the time exclusively for the United States forces may enter, exit, and move freely within the territory and territorial waters of Ghana. Such aircraft, vehicles, and vessels shall also not be subject to the payment of landing, parking, or port fees. Cabinet also agreed that no Ghanaian official shall board and inspect any of these U.S. aircraft, vehicles, and vessels without the consent of the U.S. forces. The U.S. forces can also use Ghana's radio spectrum free of charge. Ghana has also agreed to accept as valid, without a driving test or fee, driving licenses or permits issued by the appropriate U.S. authorities to military personnel as well as U.S. civilians and contractors. JoyNews has also intercepted a memo written by Defense Minister Dominic Nitiwo asking Parliament to ratify the deal. In the memo, he explains that Ghana will benefit from the deal because it also involves the facilitation of training, including maintaining unit readiness, continued exercises, and other military opportunities for the Ghana Armed Forces. Mr. Nitiwo also argues that the deal will ensure that there is enhanced, fruitful security cooperation between Ghana and the USA. Parliament will have to weigh the options and make a decision.
That gives you an idea of what we're talking about, the sort of unrestricted access that the United Nations will get if this agreement is okayed by Parliament. Well, today the reactions have been coming in thick and fast. The pro-Nkrumah's youth group fighters say they're marching to Parliament to prevent its ratification. More on that as they join us in the studio soon. We'll also take you to Parliament for some reactions there as well. But first, let's hear from security expert Captain Budu Kumsin, who spoke on the Super Morning Show earlier today.
It's too early for one to state categorically whether what we are receiving justifies the cost or whatever it is that we are giving, because we haven't had the opportunity to read the contract in detail. We haven't had the opportunity to do a good content analysis and calculations to see. Off the top of my head, what I can say is that everything has its pros and cons. Ghana is like an island of peace in the turbulent West Africa sub-region. And with our porous border controls and internal controls, the situation is getting security-wise dangerous for us. With all these miscreants and all sorts of combatants in our sub-region using Ghana as a staging ground. That said, this agreement, which is a military cooperation, I think the upside will be capacity building for Ghana, the Ghana security agencies, or specifically the armed forces. I mean, that will be welcome if they are going to help us train, if they are going to help equip, and those sorts of things to deal with some of these threats that are now on our radar. We're picking all these threats on our radar. I think that will be a benefit. Now, when it comes to the downside in broad terms that I'm seeing, one gets a bit worried when we haven't seen the details. I heard the defense minister say there's just 2 facilities, fine. Will there be other facilities that will have to grant them access to or give it to them? Issues of sovereignty. I mean, I haven't seen the American embassy drive around with American number plates. Why would we grant these people coming the right to ride around with American number plates on our roads? I don't understand. The big men may want to tell us why. For me, it borders on sovereignty. And sometimes we know where these UN troops or American troops are. Sometimes they get into conflict with the locals and it brings all sorts of things. Issues of sovereignty, issues of control, compensation. We have to look at all these things. I've read and I heard about importation and inspection of things that are being imported and exported and all these things. We all hear some of the excesses and horror stories in these campaigns. My plea is that very often when Ghana gets to review our international contracts, we ourselves lambast the contracts and say that they were not good enough, they were lopsided, and we didn't write a good contract and all these things. I plead that at least we make use of good contract consultants to tighten up this contract. Whatever we want to give should be specific, not leave it loose so that it can be exploited and we will be in a bad position to complain later on. So I would plead that whatever agreement we sign, we get good contract writers to go through it with a toothpick so that issues of conflict and gray areas are resolved. That is my plea.
Captain Bodu Kumsin, with the pros and cons there, he's not the only one who has raised concerns about this agreement. The senior statesman, Professor Akila Pasoya, has also been reacting to the news. He spoke on the morning show with Daniel Dazi as well.
The notion of an American base of any sort, however described, is in my view a nightmare. I would prefer not to say too much at this stage till I've had a chance to look at the agreement, to hear the views. But the notion of a secret arrangement to, in a way, surrender sovereignty over aspects of security in this country frightens me enormously. And I'll certainly be more than willing to comment on it further after seeing the details and hearing the views of other people. But it is, in my judgment, a matter of very grave concern, which should have been much more publicly discussed before it was concluded. But that's where we are now.
So you feel that government should at least have brought it up for public debate before entering into the agreement, which they have?
Precisely, absolutely. Because a major matter affects all of us. And it's a matter of such great potential difficulty.
What's difficulties? What difficulties do you see?
In a sense, there are a number of problems globally which arise from the work and the behavior of the big powers. And we have seen country after country be drawn into all manner of things from this perspective. I will be very, very slow in getting involved in other people's business in this security area, whatever the benefits that are promised on the side. But I don't know enough yet of the details, but the general situation for me grieves very grave concern indeed.
Professor Akilakba Soya there with his thoughts. Well, a statement has just been released by the United States Embassy here in Ghana. We'll take you through that. But before, let's give you a highlight of what we're talking about, the sorts of what the agreement gives the United States Embassy or the United States of America if Parliament finally ratifies it. So there you go. One, they get unrestricted access to a host of Ghanaian facilities, which we're not sure at the moment yet. The minister says that will be limited to 2 facilities. But what are these 2 facilities and where are they? Those are questions that need to be answered. 2, they get wide-ranging tax exemptions, of course, to the United States military when they do come into the country. 3, the U.S. military would use Ghana as a base for staging and deploying forces, and which is why a lot of people are interpreting this to be the formation of a military base here in Ghana. Well, in the new statement that has been released by the United States, they say it is not. The U.S. does not intend to set up a military base here. But there you have it. Number 3, the U.S. military would use Ghana as a base for staging and deploying forces. 4, Ghana will bear the cost and take primary responsibility for securing the U.S. facilities in Ghana, which is to say that when they do come, or if they do come into the country, their security or their protection, of course, is in the hands of the Ghanaian authorities. Now, Ghana will also provide unimpeded access to and use of agreed facilities and areas to the United States forces as well as their contractors. Who are these contractors and what exactly will they be contracted to do? Questions there that need some answers. 1, the agreement also allows the U.S. forces and their contractors again to undertake construction activities on and make alterations and improvements to agreed facilities and areas. What sort of alteration are we looking at? What again are these facilities? And then the United States contractors shall not be liable to pay tax or similar charge access within Ghana in connection with this agreement, which is why people have raised concerns about how a sovereign state allows such an entry. But of course, these are things that we'll keep discussing, and we'll bring you what the United Nations Embassy here in Ghana says. Again, on imports and exports, the U.S. forces may also import into and export out of and use in Ghana any personal property, equipment, supplies, material, technology, training, or services in connection with this agreement. Such importation, exportation, and use shall be exempt from any inspection, license, other restrictions, customs duties, taxes, or any other charges accessed within Ghana. And I'm going to go over that again. Such importation and exportation and their use. So when they bring whatever it is that they import, whatever it is that is exported, shall not be open to any inspection by Ghanaian authorities or any licensing regime. There shall be no restrictions on, there shall be no customs duties or taxes on any other thing that the United States military decide to import and export into or out of this country. Aircraft, vehicles and vessels operated by or at the time exclusively for the United States forces may enter, exit and move freely within the territory and territorial waters of Ghana. Here is another thing that the U.S. will get if this agreement goes through. They have the chance to have their aircraft, their vehicles, their vessels that move on water operated by them and exclusively for the operated exclusively for the United States forces to enter, exit and move freely within the territory or territorial waters of Ghana without any restrictions or any inspections. Very soon, I'll tell you about the group that's looking to march to Parliament to make sure that this agreement is not rectified. We'll also tell you what the United States Embassy here in Ghana think. But we've been speaking to Ghanaians on the street. Here's what they say.
Me is a no, because already U.S. have issues with other countries, and I think Ghana is a peaceful country, and to allow them in means we are siding them with other issues that they have with. In case there's an attack on them, it's going to affect the civilians.
On the U.S. base to be put anywhere in Ghana, yes. If the military, looking at their constitutions, if it deems fit for them to accept them here, there, well, they can go ahead. But if not, I suggest the war-torn areas, nearer to the war-torn areas, they can have the base at that area, not Ghana. Yes.
I think it wouldn't be a good thing because it will bring unnecessary attention to Ghana. Ghana is a peaceful country. Like we are just in Africa enjoying our peace. When this U.S. military guys come in, they'll bring all sorts of attention to Ghana. Today this, tomorrow that. So we are just. I think it's not a good thing. I think it's cool. We are cool as we are.
Say you'd read a sense of anxiety in the voices of Ghanaians. We'll be going to Parliament where the minister laid before the House today this particular agreement and also get some reactions from them. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo will be there as well to give us an update on what the discussion has been so far. Let's start with this clarification from the minister.
I'm aware the Americans have also released a statement asking Joy FM to withdraw and apologize to them because they don't have the intention of setting up a military base. What they have brought has nothing to do with the military base. It's in our interest because they do a lot of exercises with us, they do a lot of training with us, and all they seek to do is that there are some facilities that they think that they'll be using. They could have gone to rent these facilities at the airport, but they said, look, as part of the friendship and the agreement that we have, let's rent these facilities or let's give us these facilities so that we can put our staff inside and then we'll have control over those facilities. It's as simple as that. There's basically nothing. It's just an agreement to find what's the status of the American soldier who comes here to work with our troops. It's not.
If, for example, the cooperation has been happening over the years, why the need for an agreement now if nothing different?
It's a 20-year-old agreement. It was first signed on the 24th of February 1998. It's a 20-year-old agreement. It's not a new thing that we would say that it's a new agreement. No, it's not a new agreement. It's an old agreement that periodically gets renewed. And so this is the first time that I thought we should bring it to Parliament.
Have American soldiers operating in the country always had immunity and the status of diplomatic officials over the years?
First of all, the American soldiers have not always had immunity, and that's the difficulty they have always had.
So that is something different that's being introduced.
Of course, that's one is new. That you have American soldiers coming to work with us, coming to do Operation Obamgame, that's for the sea, then Flintoff and other exercises that they do with us. And then we give immunity to the embassy staff. But the soldiers who are working with us, who are sacrificing their lives, who are assisting our soldiers, have some capacity. Those soldiers, we say, will not give them immunity.
The point is that we've seen French ships come around, other military officials from different parts of the country come and take operations in our waters and even here in the country. And none of them are ever given immunity of any sort or diplomatic status. Why are the Americans different if this arrangement is nothing different?
For something that is different. We already have a non-surrender agreement already anyway with them. There's nothing that is different. We have signed a non-surrender agreement with the Americans already. If an American commits a crime here, he will be tried in the U.S. We've done that before, so it's not something that is different. All that I'm seeking to say is that the Americans have not asked for any base. They have not asked to establish any base. They don't have the intention of establishing any base in Ghana. So the people of Ghana should be rest assured that Cabinet has not approved anything called a base. Neither does cabinet have the intention, or the Americans have the intention, to approve anything called a base. So for Joy FM and other stations to say that they have a document that cabinet has approved a base is absolutely wrong. It's absolutely misleading, and it's something that has really put the ministry, myself, and the Americans in bad light. Secondly, the people of Ghana have had this agreement with the Americans for a long time. The only thing is that it keeps getting renewed every time. We signed it in 1998, we signed it in 2007, we signed another agreement in 2015, apart from the gift more, but none of them was brought to Parliament. What we've done, what the government has done, Akufo-Addo has insisted, the president has insisted, is that it must be brought to the people of Ghana. And that's why I have brought it to Parliament. Otherwise, I could have also signed it just like any other minister, and without you knowing. I mean, this thing has been signed 3 or 4 times, but nobody knew about it. I could have also done the same thing.
So for clarity, what exactly are they coming to do in the country?
For clarity, it's very simple. They are asking what is the status of the American soldier who comes in here. Last year, we had over 200 American soldiers passing through here to work with us. What's the status of the American soldier who comes here? That's the first thing. Secondly, there are some facilities around the airport that they need to use to be able to store their wares and make sure that their things are in good control and that kind of stuff. Whether it's ammo, which we call ammunition, or other things. So who controls those facilities? That's basically what.
Describe that as a base at the airport. If it's
I think that person doesn't know what a base is. If you know what a base is, you will not describe 2 buildings that people are looking for to use as a base. The Americans could have rented this. In any case, the Americans have facilities that they are using. They have an aeroplane that is already in Ghana anyway. When it was in Ivory Coast, but when the Ivorian War happened, they shifted that base, C-132 to Ghana, C-32 to Ghana. So that aeroplane is already in Ghana anyway. All they are seeking is that give us some facilities, and then so that we can also use your runway to take off. It's as simple as that. Already they have an aeroplane that uses our runway. When the aeroplane of the South African president, when they came to Ghana, some were even going to Ivory Coast for the last Ivorian meeting. When they came, they parked in Ghana here. They parked at our Air Force base. We gave them space. Do you understand? So that cooperation has been going with different countries. What the Americans are seeking to do is to formalize it. Formalize those things.
And they'll use the base to undertake the operations. Okay, so they use the facilities at the port to then set as grounds to undertake operations in other parts of West Africa.
No, what they are saying is that they will use it to take operation with us.
The Defense Minister, Dominic Nitiwu, there saying that Joy FM has misled. Well, we'll bring you information and details as to what our report was based on. But right now, there's been a response from the American Embassy here in Ghana. What are they saying to that? Let me read to you quickly. Statement on status of forces agreement, and it says in response to the story released by JoyNews on March 20, 2018, the United States Embassy wishes to underscore that the United States has not requested, nor does it plan to establish a military base or bases in Ghana. The current status of forces agreement so far between the United States of America and the Republic of Ghana is approximately 20 years old. It does not cover the current range and volume of bilateral exercises and assistance. This year, the United States of America is investing over $20 million in training and equipment for the Ghanaian armed forces. Ghana is also once again preparing to train U.S. forces, as it did in 2017. The United States and Ghana are planning joint security exercises in 2018. And for this, they're saying that it requires access to Ghanaian bases by U.S. participants and those from other nations when included. And they are, by this release, referring all other questions to the government of Ghana. And indeed, you had Dominic Nitiwu there explaining further.